Hey YouTubers, this is Old John. Today's January 22nd, 2015. I'm going to do an update primarily on earthquakes that have been occurring past 7 days along the North American Craton. May do a quick overview of the world also while I'm at it. It's been an interesting week. Here's a map of the Craton without any quakes. It'll be today at this time. And we'll move back in time 7 days and I'll show you what's occurred. Craton, if you recall, is this line I've highlighted along this map I've updated of 3D, earthquake 3D. Goes down through most of the United States up through Canada and Greenland, right next to Iceland, between Greenland and Iceland, some of Alaska, and Canada on the west, and then down through the western states, down through Texas. So let's move back one day, and you can't see me, I'm moving the slider which is to the right of the screen here, and some typical quakes pop up here in Oklahoma. They're continuing to have quakes here. Some say it's related to fracking. Dutch since Michael Janich really thinks it is. I have mixed feelings about that. I think there's some, but been fracking in this area for years to my knowledge. And these quakes have mainly started in the past 3 years, I think, so may or may not be related to that. Bunch of quakes here in northwest Nevada. Continuing to see those. I think Dutch Sense says there's an old volcano there, and maybe there may be some pressure relief going on. And then an unusual quake here down in Alabama, central west side of Alabama. That's unusual. Is this because the earthquakes on the west side of the Craton are pushing over? Let's go back another day and see if we can see any correlation. Moving back a day, so this would be 2 days ago. Curiously, we also see a quake that had occurred the day before up here in Connecticut. There's 2 or 3 I think that had occurred in Connecticut, which are pretty unusual. Well, actually, and Maine also. I know someone who lives in Maine and they did not feel it, but it's not real typical there. Northern Texas had 3 quakes, another one in Oklahoma, and several more in northwest Nevada. Bunch of quakes in northwest Nevada. Now, are these pushing maybe across the Craton and causing this pressure over here? Well, let's continue back in time another day, 3 days, and see if we can draw a correlation. Going back another day, haha, there's a quake on the New Madrid fault. And it's not New Madrid, like Madrid, Spain. Usually in the US, names are not pronounced the same way they are in other countries. Like the city not far from here is Cairo, Illinois. Not Cairo, but Cairo. So it's New Madrid, not New Madrid. And this runs along the west boundaries of Missouri, Arkansas, and the eastern boundaries of Kentucky, Illinois. This is where the big quake occurred back in the 1800s. It rang bells in Philadelphia and so forth. Reversed the flow, created a depression called Reelfoot Lake to the south. This is scheduled to go off sometime in the future and may affect even me. I live over here to the west of St. Louis, but it could do devastation all along that area, St. Louis, Memphis, you know, you name it. But that's for the Lord to determine when that will happen. So anyway, then let's see. Then we had a quake down here also, I see, and that's in southeastern Nevada. That's kind of interesting, at 2.5. So let's move back another day, and more quakes in Oklahoma. And Nevada. Now California's had some quakes here too, especially Central California, 4.4 and so forth. Those may be coming across from the Ring of Fire. We'll look at the global and see if we can tell on that. Let's move back another day. Just more quakes in the typical places, Oklahoma and northwest Nevada. Go back 6 days. Still a bunch of quakes in these same areas. Here's one down though in that happened in New Mexico, in central western Mexico. So there seems to be a certain amount of activity along here. And is this, again, pushing across the Craton? My guess is if these here in Oklahoma and Texas are being caused by fracking, they're not going to exert pressure all the way over here to these and move the plate, continental shelf Craton plate, over and cause these other earthquakes. But I'm not a geologist, just a retired civil engineer. So then going back 7 days, one here down in almost southern tip of Texas. So the Craton's been more active than usual since my last update of approximately a couple of weeks ago. We've had more pressure on the west side, and you could say it's being transmitted over. See, this is the Craton here. These two in Texas are approximately along the edge of it. This one in Alabama definitely is along it. New Madrid's a little north, and then these in Connecticut and up here in Maine are definitely along the edge on the northeast. So don't see any up above in Canada and so forth. Might expect some of those up Canada, Greenland, maybe up in Canada on the west side. You might be aware of that. My last update, I suggested people along the west side here be wary of possible quakes. No quakes in Yellowstone. That's interesting. Last time, a couple weeks ago, we had a bunch of quakes in Yellowstone. I don't know what that means. So anyway, so I think there's been more activity along the Craton past week. A little different areas though than the previous update I did. Now let's zoom out and look at the world maybe. Zooming out. First, before we do that, let's go back in and turn on the rings so we can see kind of the magnitude of these quakes. So as you can see, the largest ones were over here, northwest Nevada and Texas. This one up here though in Maine, 4.2 is pretty good size. 2.6, 2.7 here in New Madrid in Alabama. Okay, so let's turn these off and go back out. Let's go back out and look at the world quakes. Going to the west, certain amount of activity, not real great though up here on the northeast side of the Ring of Fire. Some 4s and 5s down here on the north or the southeast side, and quite a bit of activity here on the southwest side of the Ring of Fire. That'd be New Zealand, Indonesia, up into Japan. There's been some 5s and 4s up here in Japan. So there's some pretty good activity going along on the Ring of Fire. Maybe that's transmitting across to the Craton. Been some quakes here in the Turkey, Middle Eastern area. Eurasian plate, Arabian plate, Europe, been some 4s and 3s. Up here, Iceland, we continue getting quakes. That could be because of the volcano up there. Mid-Atlantic Ridge, a little bit down here by South America. Typical quakes here, Panama and Caribbean area. They just keep getting those. Some quakes here in South America, Chile, that area, 5s. So it's been pretty active worldwide. So maybe some of this is pushing on the Craton. Who knows? Only the Lord knows. If you're more interested in more on this, let's turn on the rings real quick and do a spin around just to give you a feel for the intensity of some of these quakes. Obviously, the larger in diameter the ring, the stronger the quake. See the strongest ones here down on the southwest side of the Ring of Fire. And down here in Chile, pretty good ones. The 5s. We haven't had anything above 5.9 though, past week. Haven't had anything really above 6 hardly for the past month, which is a little surprising. But you never know when they'll pick up. So anyway, so let's go back in time real quick. Give you a feel for how these quakes developed. So if you're in any of these areas that are having a lot of quakes, have a plan. Probably already do. So see you in another week or two and we'll do an update. If you're interested in more earthquake information, I'm getting ready to do a summary of last year's 2014, see if they increased from the previous years. And I'll put that on my web page, and I'll leave the link to that at the bottom of this video. And if you're interested in more YouTube videos by me on earthquakes, go to John H. That's my YouTube channel, or Harrison 4803. So anyway, that's all for now, YouTubers. Old John signing out.